Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it. Our Father, who art in heaven. Seriously? What the actual fuck?
Gilead doesn't care about children. Gilead cares about power.
Why does healing have to be the only goal? Why can't we be as furious as we feel?
For whatever man sows, so shall he reap.
Welcome to Above the Garage.
Hi, friends. Welcome to our analysis of Season 4, Episode 5 of The Handmaid's Tale, which is entitled Chicago. Let's do our round of introductions and dive in.
Hi, I'm Julia.
Hi, I'm Claudia.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Kate. So the episode opens to the sound of kissing, and we see it's Luke and June at the hotel where they had their affair. And then we see why June's thinking of sex, because Janine and Steven are having sex in the room that everybody's sleeping in. June looks over at the attractive guy next to her, and he smiles in commiseration at having to listen to them having sex. By the way, I know Janine says she likes Steven, but is this continued prostitution a requirement of their stay, do you think? I wasn't sure, but it made me sick to think about that.
I don't think so.
I think no. Janine just latches on emotionally really fast.
Yeah.
Because she tells later it's
consensual. Yeah, she's adamant it's consensual later. Yeah. Or at least she wants to believe.
But I'm just curious if he would have demanded that, you know. Anyway, I hate Steven, if you can't tell.
Did you think it was strange that she was thinking of Luke in this moment?
I did.
Because I was like, okay, this is like weird that she's thinking of Luke when she needs to listen to the guy she practically hates having sex with Janine. And she's totally wary of this. And
it is very uncomfortable to be thinking like that next to two people that you don't want to be having sex, you know? And you know where she was forced initially.
I think it was a good contrast between pre-Gilead sex and post-Gilead sex, you know. I think they try to show that
a contrast.
Pre-Gilead sex with someone that, with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And in this situation, Janine with some guy, all in the same room, was very awkward sex.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, you could be right. That's probably more like it.
And then June hears the sound of gunfire and explosions. And by the way, this shot of her like getting out of bed is a behind the scenes like short video that I think Burton put up once. I'm just like seeing it in the show after having seen it on his page. But she gets up to go explore, look into the explosions, and Steven yells at her to get back into bed, which of course she is not going to listen to. And she finds a window where she can see the battle, and it's kind of a cool shot of the war in Chicago.
Don't take a lantern to the window.
Yeah. And again. Yeah. Don't be in the window with your lantern.
Yeah.
See you. It reminded me of Omar when she was in Omar's window. I'm like, girl, you can't be doing this.
I mean, you can do it in the middle of the night, but don't bring a lantern, please.
Don't bring the light.
Don't shine that. Hi, I'm here.
Yeah, there are lots of little things throughout this episode to show June is very new to resistance living. Yeah.
Well, just the fact that nobody was paying attention to the bombs being dropped and the windows being shot out. They were all sleeping through it and like no big deal. But of course, June's not used to that. So she is going to be curious and go like, what the hell is happening? So they're totally used to that environment. That's what they've been living in for 5, 6, whatever, how many years.
However long they've been there.
I mean,
they're desensitized to it.
When I saw it on the closed captions, it seemed that a few of them were like watching out and stuff, because some people shouted at each other, wake up, oh fuck, it's from the West this time, and stuff like that. So there were people that were probably on a more watch position.
Yeah. I mean, it was such the norm that I think Steven was like pissed. He was like pissed, like quit ruining my time getting laid and sit down, lady. Like seriously.
He's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Then Tainted Love is playing, and she's washing her handmaid's cloak in a bathtub, and they show us an aerial shot of their gardening, kids playing, just daily life there. And that cloak must be so heavy when wet. But she sees someone packing rations and sidles up to her to figure out where the action is and learns that they're trading these across town, and June wants to go. The woman says that's Steven's call, so June goes to find him. And as she watches him teach Janine how to fire a gun, you can just see that she clearly despises him on her face. And then she has to come out and ask him if she can come trade with them. And he says, fresh meat, stay here. And Janine puts in a good word for her, and Steven gives in if she does what he says. He obviously doesn't know her very well yet, but she agrees, and he will learn.
I found it so odd that she was like taking care of her cloak, but then I realized like in this type of world, it is her only possession, her only thing she has really to trade. Because she's in a totally different atmosphere there, like a totally different environment. And Gilead, she had her basic needs met. And when you're a rebel, you don't have food. You're fighting for everything to survive like that way, your basic needs.
Yeah. And that cloak would be very warm. Like I object to the trade made later in this episode because the cloak is actually valuable. Not wearing it, obviously, but having it with you in the warehouse.
Yeah. I thought it was really telling that what June wanted to trade for when she was talking with the woman about, going to trade was she wanted guns.
Yeah.
And the woman was saying, no, we're going to get food and batteries. So I think it's very telling of her mental state. She's very much geared on wanting to hurt Gilead, which is clear. It's natural progression. She wasn't thinking, like Megan said, of survival, really, because, she's used to having her basic needs met. So she's ready to fight.
And it's interesting coming from 401 when Esther was like pissed off at her for not being that way. She just wanted to chill for a bit, and Esther just wanted to kill people. And now June's back on board with killing people.
I wondered how long they stayed there up to this point, because they seem to be still fairly new, but I mean, Janine is like already casual with her new boyfriend, and it looks like they were at least a few days, maybe a few weeks there. It looks like they have settled in, but not quite.
I don't think you can ever really settle into a rebel base, but I bet they were probably 2 weeks, maybe at the most.
Maybe. I think the others looked like they really settled in because they were playing games and having fun.
She was so pissed at all of this. I love that. She was like looking around and couldn't believe that all those people, like maybe also the handmaids on the farm, when they had their little respite moment and when they were dancing and stuff like this, that it would happen again, that these people don't want to fight. They just want to survive and take a little happiness from just everyday life.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes back to her words when she was in the Boston Globe, where she was saying like, you get used to all of this really quickly if you are forced into a new situation. So,
Then we're at where they send the aunts to die, I guess, and aunt's retirement home. And I guess it's like attached to the Red Center because the handmaids are right outside. But it's funny because there are like puzzles and old time music, chess, and cards. But Lydia's on the treadmill watching the handmaids training outside, clearly like itching to get back into action. Then Aunt Ruth enters, and when Aunt Lydia tells her she's eager to get back to work, she's back in fighting shape. Ruth shuts her down like quickly. The girls are not your concern anymore, which is like the sentence that would set Lydia off the most, because the girls have always been my concern. I have served Gilead with everything I have. And despite Ruth's clear unfriendliness towards her, she asks her to intercede with the commanders on her behalf. And Ruth continues enjoying her superiority, though, and condescending to her. She calls her Lydia without the aunt, like June did in episode 403. And when she sees an open seat at the card table, Ruth delights in telling Lydia about it. Lydia's infuriated, and she instead replies, Godspeed, Aunt Ruth, and then gets back on the treadmill with a vengeance.
I feel like she was testing Aunt Ruth just to see, how far she would go to like vie for that power. And now she's like, okay, you're not on my side. You're working to get me out. So she has to go another route now.
It's very interesting because you can see the dynamics between this aunt very well. And also, did you notice that in the scene, in the shot, Aunt Lydia is shorter than the other actress? You can see how the camera is focused on Ruth, like she has more power, and on Lydia is a lower position.
Smaller.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She looks smaller.
Yeah, I found it funny, kind of, that Aunt Lydia is at the treadmill, because it looks like she wants to get her gear back on, but better than before, because she couldn't run after them, right? And I was like, is she like trying to get in shape to never have such a moment ever again that people can outrun her?
That's such a good point.
I always thought she was doing it because she was just pissed and needed to have an outlet for that energy.
Yeah, sure.
And she's just like, ah.
Yeah, that was sure part of it, but I think she wanted to get fitter because so she has more power again over the new ones.
Yeah.
I just thought it was weird to see somebody on a treadmill in Gilead. Yeah. It was like a very non-Gileadian thing to be on a treadmill.
Doesn't it even say blessed day or something?
It did. I thought so. I thought I heard that.
Yeah.
Like they have special Gilead treadmills.
That's so funny. Are they allowed to see numbers?
I think the ants can see anything, right?
Yeah. They can read. Yeah.
And ants can write as well. Yeah.
This is irrelevant then to this scene, but can handmaids do numbers?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It's all pictures. But the ants, they have a pretty cushy setup, you know.
I think like most of them there were probably enjoying themselves in their chests.
They have big libraries. They get to play games.
Like, yeah, we do some famous Christian painting puzzles every day.
Yeah, so exciting.
This was the Assumption of Mary, by the way. Did you?
I
looked it up because, like, I thought it was interesting that the shot kind of lingered on this puzzle they did, and we know that Mary is supposed to have conceived as a virgin.
Yeah.
So.
Then we immediately go from Lydia to a man in a very similar position. Lawrence is addressing the council, and Putnam thanks him for helping them find the handmaids. So that would be referencing the Hannah trick. And Lawrence proceeds to suggest they declare a temporary ceasefire along their borders to allow for international aid to come in. The council does not react positively. He wants to trade this for goodwill and economic relief, but Calhoun calls him out.
I want to bomb everything, friend Calhoun.
Yes.
He's pissed.
Trigger happiest person on the planet.
No. Never. I wanted to bomb everything since episode 3 of season 3. Come on.
He also wants to send everybody to the colonies and kill them. So he just is a killer.
Yeah, so he shuts it down, and then he asks, wasn't it your handmaid that kidnapped our children in the first place? And when Lawrence admits he was deceived by a faithless woman, I enjoyed Nick looking at him hilariously. And
yeah, me too.
Like bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can hardly swallow.
He's like, yeah, that's my girlfriend who got those kids out. That's her.
And he knows he's full of shit too. He's
that too, yeah.
Exactly.
It's like he's holding back a little smile.
He is. He totally like wants to laugh at that. And Lawrence continues, unlike women, numbers don't lie, and they need to prosper in order to crush the insurgency. They call for a vote, and everyone votes against him. Nick goes last, though, so he knows his vote is totally useless. And when they huddle up after Nick points out he can't support a ceasefire in a battle he's leading. But Lawrence knows his weak spot for sure now. A ceasefire might help June, he says. And then my favorite Lawrence line is teed up nicely by Nick. If she was near the border, I'd know about it, Nick says. And Lawrence replies, oh, that's sweet. Would your heart glow or something? And Nick even chuckles, a rare sound coming out of him. I remember being so shocked the first time I watched it. I immediately rewound to make sure that he said what I thought he said. It's so
I did
delightful.
Too. Yeah.
I just like imagining Nick with like the Care Bear heart, like
like
shooting.
I mean, we already got scenes where this seemed to be true. So
literally, season 2, right? Episode 5.
Exactly.
How did he know that she was dying in the garden?
Right.
It's like
this is the first time that we see Nick at the council, right? He just was bumped basically because he captured June. Probably, right?
I think that's probably one of the reasons, and also like because sometime around episode 3, I mean, Lawrence says that some commanders died and some are in hospital, so probably seats are vacant as well.
There was an opening.
Also interesting in this scene is we see 7 commanders at the council, and later we see 9 commanders at the council.
Yeah, they're stocked up. I mean, we know about one that joined, so.
Yeah.
Also interesting is we just came from a scene where Aunt Ruth said, oh, there's a seat at the table. And then we switch into this scene where Nick suddenly has a seat at the table.
All right.
Interesting.
Ooh.
It's good that he's there now because he can. I mean, he's still low.
I mean, he's on the far end of the table. He is
Yeah.
the less power of everything in the group. Of course, Putnam in the middle is the most powerful.
Yeah.
Of all
we
of them.
see later that he can't.
Yeah. But also he's in this scene, I think it's very interesting that he's very, very closely observing the reactions of every commander when Lawrence proposes the ceasefire. Like even before they vote, he's like closely observing Clune and every single one, how they react to this proposal.
So I think that's why Lawrence said that how powerful Gilead army is or and also I think that's why Nick is like looking how to behave in that space because it's the first time he's there. It's interesting because in the moment that they Commander Calhoun said about June, the focus of the camera changed and Lawrence is like in a position of superiority, like with lights in each size of him, and Nick is in the dark, like I said in 401. So it's interesting that every single time that they talk about June or something related to June, Lawrence or Nick are like they show them in a better light. It's interesting.
Yeah, I really like in this episode the back and forth with Nick and Lawrence, where it's really clear Nick is a very inexperienced politician, for lack of a better word, and Lawrence knows what he's doing. As Nick, I think, thinks he knows what he's doing by watching all the other commanders and trying to figure out what to do. But you really quickly realize as the episode goes on, especially like Nick is playing checkers and Lawrence is playing chess. Nick thinks he's doing good, but no, like Lawrence is going back and he's using his political know-how to really navigate Gilead and get what he wants, what he knows needs to be done. I like the dynamic between them.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
When we know that Lawrence is that big political brain and he knows how to play the game, I still wonder why he said to Nick that he should have given him a mercy vote. I mean, he even waited for everybody else to vote that he can see if he can vote against it or for it. And he had no other choice. I mean, the only one voting for it would be highly suspicious. So I really wondered why he was like saying, hey, you couldn't give me one.
Yeah, he should know.
I think he was mostly Lawrence joking too, though.
Yeah.
That dry wit.
But I found it also interesting that despite, or maybe because of Nick's inexperience, he quickly takes Lawrence's advice and asks different people on like not the eyes of Gilead, but like different eyes of Gilead. So he's eager to learn how to play the game, I think.
Yeah, that is smart.
I think so too.
So does everybody know he's an eye or just Lawrence? Because obviously Lawrence is like, he called him out as being an eye. So I'm just like,
at this point, he's been promoted. I assume he's more like Price now and that everybody knows he's like the leader, but you don't know who works for him.
But isn't Putnam the head of the eyes? And I think Nick is not the head of the eyes, but one of the eyes still, but as a commander now.
I'm not sure if Lawrence actually does know that. I think it's just like a line because like obviously every single commander has access to the knowledge of the eyes, I think.
Well, no, because the reason for the eyes was to like hurt the commanders initially, right? Wasn't
right,
it?
I think there's different fractions of eyes. I think there's your plainclothes operatives, and then there's your visible eyes. So I don't think they know the plainclothes operatives. I think those are like the undercover eyes.
Yeah.
And then the visible eyes, they
the
know.
The visible eyes. I mean, of course, the commander can go to the visible eye office and say, hey, we want to go check on this and this person. Do you have any intel on them? Because we suspect anything. So I think Lawrence just needs this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Kind of option for Nick that he's like, okay, you can go the official route to ask our secret police if they have any intel.
Yeah.
Then we are in Chicago with June and Janine, and June asks Steven when she gets a gun. They're on their mission, walking across the city, and he says when she earns it. And Janine catches up to her and begs her to try to play nice with Steven, and starts to point out that June's kind of pushy and like walks in wanting to take control like usual. And June's like, okay. And for some reason I enjoyed that exchange where June didn't like want to hear any more about that. But it is obviously true. And they uncover a body burnt to a crisp. Nice job, Zane. Steven tells her that it was probably courtesy of the Nighthawks, and that she would love the Nighthawks because they don't care if they live or die. They just want to kill soldiers like her.
And she was fascinated by that. Or I couldn't, that, like, I was like, okay, that look, I feel
she
like.
wants in on that.
Yeah, she's like, I want this.
I like so too that I don't like Steven. I think I mentioned that once or twice. But I did like when he said, you love them. Because he knows her number.
He knows her already so well.
Yeah. Exactly.
Despite not knowing her already.
Yeah. As they round the next corner, somebody signals to them to take cover. And we also hear orders from the Gilead soldiers to check out the shops. And someone shines a flashlight into the restaurant they're hiding in, which is Dante's Pizzeria, which is a real place in Chicago. Probably Lizzie likes it.
Also, Dante is the author of the Divina Commedia, like the Divine Comedy. And this book is very famous because it kind of describes the afterlife in a very, Christianized way, and divides the afterlife into three different stages, which are hell, purgatory, and paradise. And like the book is about the main character also is Dante, so he's basically wrote a book about himself traveling through all those three realms. And he starts in hell, goes to purgatory, and then paradise. And I think it's great analogy to June's journey, because Gilead, she was in Gilead, and Gilead is hell in this case. Now she's in Chicago, the front line. This is purgatory, and who knows what paradise is for June.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. And is that the same? Does he also write about like the 7 circles of hell?
Yeah.
And then I go back to like the Nighthawk name. That's a famous painting in the Chicago Museum there. So I wonder if that's where they got it from. It's a very famous painting. It's Edward Hopper, I believe. And it's basically a famous diner scene. You would know it anywhere. It's very recognizable.
Oh yeah, I looked that up. I looked at the picture. Yeah. It's like 3 people in a diner, right? Like,
yeah, and it's
a woman, a man.
Dark, desolate street, and it's like they feel like isolated and alone, and I don't know.
But you also wonder what the people are up to. Why are they in diners so late in the night?
Yes.
And June immediately wants to shoot the guys that are searching for them, and Steven tells her to shut the fuck up. If they don't report back, there'll just be more soldiers sent, and they'll get harder to move around and trade. And June asks what kind of resistance they are, and he defends the kind that survived. Then we're in the art museum, which has become a makeshift market for bartering. There's a nicely maintained dinosaur fossil in the middle, which was surprising to me in the wake of all the violence. And the guy that smiled at her from earlier in the episode introduces himself as Brad and asks who she is, and she tells him she's not interested. And I enjoyed when Janine stepped up and jokes, it's nice to see you making friends. And June says she doesn't need that kind of friend. And Janine sees a Cubs hat and wants to get it for Steven, who is apparently a baseball fanatic in his previous life. And Janine picks up on June's uneasy vibes about him and reassures her it's totally consensual. Side note, Janine looks so beautiful. Or Maddie. I mean, she always does, but this blue color on her, I just think she looks really beautiful in these scenes. And I also enjoy that she's always matching her eye patch to her clothes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Janine tries to trade her Handmaid's cloak for the Cubs hat, and the guy says no, which is insane, by the way. It's a fucking hat. And then June, trying to be nice to Janine, even though it's for Steven, offers her cloak too, which is terrible, terrible deal, ladies. But the man takes the deal.
I wonder what kind of value a hat has. Is it because of disguising yourself, or because
a bright blue hat is not really disguising?
Exactly.
Or is it because you can shelter yourself from the rain? But the cloak would do that too, right? I mean,
let's just admit it. It's just because Lizzie wanted that Cubs hat.
I know. That's what I had. That's what I had. Lizzie wanted a Cubs hat.
With the cloaks, like somebody could take those cloaks and easily like infiltrate Gilead. You know, like I feel like the clocks were much more valuable.
To have the cloaks. Yes, It was definitely a very nice thing to do for her friend, but stupid.
Yeah, she has a hard time leaving the clothes, and I think that was because she also is very attached to not to the clock itself, but to her identity of Fred. So I think that's why she has very hard time to leave it. She looks at them, like she was struggling with that.
It was also her only possession left too, though. It was like her only possession that was of value for her too, to trade it for that hat.
Exactly.
I would have been hesitant. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But also it's interesting because in season 2, she's easily burning her old clothes. She has no problem getting rid of her handmaid identity.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I couldn't tell if she was hesitant because of she wanted to hold on to it, like Melissa said, because it was part of her identity, or because she thought the guy was scamming them.
Yeah.
I really wasn't sure.
It was more valuable.
It could have been a little of both, but I thought of the thing too, Julia, like you said, like it's a far cry from the June of season 2, who as soon as she could get out of that cloak, she wanted to be rid of it and to burn it. So she's really, progressed a lot in a lot of ways.
June says to Janine about Steven that she shouldn't get attached. And it really reminded me of season 1 when Nick says, don't form attachments. And so I felt like it was a nice parallel to those two. But in the end, we know both of them very, very, very badly do this not form attachment thing. So
Lydia comes to Lawrence's house and he notes she looks different. He's commenting on her lack of power, but he jokes, maybe, is it your hair? And every other time she's walked into his house, like full of judgment and backed by Gilead. So this is enjoyable to him.
She's powerless, and she's not with her severe attitude, like she's like very humble position now. She needs something. So I think that's how Lawrence, that reads people very well, Lawrence jokes about what's different. He knows that it's nothing different
teasing
about
her. Yeah,
exactly.
He's like, I know you lost your power.
Exactly. I love that. And even with the cameras, when they equal in the same level at the beginning of the scene, and after, when Lydia is
threatening.
Exactly. She's like the camera focus her like in a better position, like in a higher position than Lawrence.
That's so cool how they do that, and I know that I notice not even half of the time, and it's worth the rewatches just to like look at even just camera positions. So then Lydia proceeds to threaten him with knowledge about his black market dealings and being at Jezebel's the night of Winslow's disappearance, which is hard for, like, he was only in his car, but I guess this is garage evidence.
So Lawrence tells Lydia if he can only help her if he can get back at the table, and he knows she has dirt on Calhoun, and she basically says, I don't trade in gossip, and he ends up saying, well, that's what I'm going to need to get you what you need. So we need to work together. And that's Lawrence, again, playing chess to make the political moves he needs, while Nick is not doing any of this, so it just shows how Lawrence, again, has that expertise.
But Lawrence also got lucky, I think.
Yeah,
Lawrence
that Lydia
really
came to him.
Yeah,
that too.
Came to him with all those gossip, as she says.
Gossip.
She said the testaments of the abuse of
I
power
love that
of many.
So
she puts that knot in there, obviously, to the book there, but it goes into, that's her whole game there is with all the girls in the houses. She has spies everywhere. So she's definitely somebody Lawrence probably wants to get to know more, because like she has the dirt on everyone.
But did she need him though? Like, shouldn't she just have gone straight to Calhoun with this and skipped the middleman?
I think she knows Calhoun is just.
She'd rather deal with Lawrence.
He's just so bad. He'd probably just shoot her.
Also, I think she hates him because like Calhoun was the one who who talked bad about the handmaids in like several episodes back. She
said, like,
yes,
she did
those
not
whores, they're nothing.
Yeah.
So she definitely doesn't want to work with him, I think.
No, she would be beneath him. I don't even think he would entertain the thought of even having a conversation with her. And Lawrence is more liberal, and Lydia knows that. So.
Yeah, I think maybe Lydia even knows a bit about that Lawrence might have ties to resistance.
She seemed to know
because
a lot.
It's like she when Aunt Ruth is so weird with her and like bossing her around and everything, she seems like to form a plan and to have figured out that Lawrence would be her best shot, because it seems like she wants to change Gilead to her own view of it, like really treats the handmaids with more respect so that they are more meek as well, because if you like do all that shit to them, they will behave like bombing up commanders or shooting up commanders or whatever. And
I think she maybe also took what June said too hard. I think like when June said it's Lydia's fault that they got beaten and brutalized, and not anything in a capacity that was promised them. Like they said, if they do the ceremony and behave, they will be glorified, and that's not what happens to handmaids.
She wants to redo it. She wants to do it right this time.
Right. If she can get them on her side, she'll get more intel if they feel like they can trust her. So now she's gonna probably work a different angle instead of just beating them into submission. Now she's actually gonna, like, now that she's broke them, she's gonna be like a friend. Lydia, you can trust me. You can come talk to me when those wicked men are doing naughty things. So trust me, and she'll get more info.
Then June and Janine are having another conversation about Stephen, and unbelievably to me, Janine actually suggests she could have his baby if she stayed here.
Oh man, poor thing.
Naive. She's so
That's so sad.
That really like bothers me about
it.
Does.
Like as a mother, I'm like, no. Exactly, I mean, I get it. She wants to raise her babies, but not in a war zone, not in that environment. I wouldn't want to bring another baby into that world, but that's what she's missing.
I really think that Janine wants a family.
Yeah.
And she is idealizing that dream, like a husband and kids and settle. And she's not considering that Chicago is a war zone that has no food there.
Yeah.
She's not considering anything bad. That she wants
an asshole.
Exactly. Steven is an asshole.
She's not in her right mind, is what I mean. Just not at this moment. She just is. She just wants what she wants, and
she's like free for a moment. I'm sure.
Right.
She's just,
that's a sense of freedom for her, even though it's not being free.
Well, and that's even what Putnam used to convince her to keep having sex with him, right? Like, we'll run away, we'll have a baby, we'll be a family. So that's clearly what she wants.
And then June tells Janine that she's leaving tomorrow, and Janine can either come with her or stay and be of Stephen.
Oh,
cold, June. Next we're with Nick. He's smoking somewhere downtown when an Ives van pulls up, and when the doors open, we see a pissed off Martha. She jumps down to the ground with attitude as another one jumps down behind her. And they walk over to Nick, and we see that they're the Marthas from season 3 in Lawrence's basement that June was having to deal with to get Angel's flight okayed. He's asking about June, and the first Martha like just hates June now. She didn't like her the first time we saw her, and now she like fucking hates her and says that everybody that helps her gets killed, gets put on the wall. And he doesn't deny it. He just says, "I'm sorry." Now do you know where she is? And she says, "You're better off without her," and like refuses to talk. But then the Martha with the unique accent, I do not know what accent that is. But anyway, the other Martha tells him that there were 2 handmaids spotted getting off the train in Chicago. So Lawrence was right, and June is in Chicago, and he thanks her.
Yeah. I love his sweet little understated, well, I care about her when he's getting information. Like, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Understatement of the century, but sweet.
I think even the Marthas know.
He's going around telling everybody.
Shout it from the rooftop.
Right?
Do you think the Marthas knew where they were brought to? Because when they jumped out, they were like looking at him, and then it was like that moment of recognition, right? So like, oh
no, yeah.
What does he want now?
Yeah, they obviously knew him.
That wasn't cool though, because he scared them, and that's why she was pissed off. She was like, go through the proper channels. Don't have me taken on the street in an ICE van.
And he says it's not about business. So like he clearly made business with them before.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. I wonder though why he calls it business.
I mean, it has been business for him, like in season 1 when we saw
for a long time now.
when we saw that he's trading goods.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't. It can't be just goods now, right?
He wanted to get June out. I mean, she was something totally different.
But he had to give the Mayday Marthas a lot more than just goods for getting June out.
I mean, he has intel now, which is even more valuable than just, I don't know, prescriptions.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I mean, they definitely knew he was not of harm to them. I mean, they even, disrespected him. They're like, he's not gonna do anybody. We know Nick. I mean, they obviously knew each other.
Yeah, it was like he's low in rank to them.
Yeah. They're like, please.
They were his bosses.
Yeah, but she clearly says it when she says, just because you have a star on your arm, which means just because you're a commander, doesn't mean you can put us in a guardian van. And
but it is kind of funny that she is so sure of that with him. Like, okay, now that it doesn't mean, we know you're not going to do anything to it. She knows, even though he has the power and could.
Yeah, he could. He actually could. That's the funny thing. She says, you cannot do that. Of course he could. he can't do that.
Well, she knows he won't.
Yeah,
because she knows, I think, that he's Mayday. I mean, they're all working together.
It even sounded a bit like, now you're having this star, but that doesn't mean you're climbing up in our ranks.
Our ranks, right. And the Mayday ranks.
We are still leading this, and you are the one giving us intel. And
I like that dynamic between them.
Yeah, I felt like it was really important to show that Nick's involved in resistance stuff in Mayday.
Yeah, I felt like that was a clear sign.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
And I mean, he could pressure a lot of information out of them.
Yeah. But he doesn't, right? He just he's just asking, and when the one says no, fuck you, basically she doesn't say that, but she's just starting to get back into the van.
Yeah, and he's not going to do anything about it.
But he's not like, come on, I mean, I will. Right. Like, he's not trying to blackmail her into intel or something, which is very telling.
He was very respectful with both of them. No, he's apologizing for June and her actions.
Right.
But literally now the entire Martha network probably knows about Nick and June. That's a lot.
I wonder if they knew. They didn't seem too shocked either. They're like, of course. They're like,
I feel like they're the worst kept secret in Gilead. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't feel like they didn't question, like, I care about her. They're like, well, you shouldn't, like, dude, you're playing
poor
with
choice.
Poor choice, buddy.
Then June's getting ready to leave. She's going to go find the Nighthawks. She has a nice little exchange with Brad, who gave her a map, and she's being friendlier with him. I never thought that he warranted her unfriendliness, by the way. She can be friends with a guy without,
No, he was a nice one.
Yeah, but I think she maybe has, like, obviously a different and difficult relationship towards Min now in general. I think she's more worried.
That's fair. And it opened up like trust. She didn't expect that of Steven, and then he dropped that on her.
She felt like, okay, I'm free of this asshole.
That stunned me too. Yeah. And Janine comes out and she starts with, "This is hard to say." So I'm like, come on, Janine, you're making the wrong poor choice. She tells June that she's staying with Steven instead of going with June, and that broke my heart. It's still a lovely goodbye though, and super touching when she gives June the Cubs hat. That was for Lizzie, obviously, saying something to remember me by. And June says, "How could I ever forget you?" And then Janine's like self-deprecating. "How could you forget the girl with the one eye?" And June says, "I think you're beautiful." And she is. And it's just so goddamn sweet. Maddie and Lizzie are incredible together. I love them so much. But sadly, June walks off without Janine, and it made me really sad. Also, it made me wonder if Steven rejected the hat, and it made me mad at him again. Any reason to be mad at Steven, I will take. I would imagine in my head.
He maybe said like, I don't need this bright blue head.
Exactly.
It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he would be right about that.
Yeah.
That's the target.
Then we see Lydia putting her taser or cattle prod or whatever it is back on and her Gilead pen. And then she's outside instructing a new group of handmaids how to be raped. But it notably opens with her closing the distance between the handmaids so that they're each in pairs. And she's doing her usual handmaid nonsense. You are the sacred vessels of the Lord, his chosen ones. Your charge will be hard. You will be tested by wicked men, and they will try to lead you astray. And when they do, I will be here to listen. Your bond with each other will be strong. From this point forward, none of you will ever walk alone. And we watch them walk in a circle in pairs, and Lydia's tearing up.
Do you think it's her usual speech? Because I got the feeling that it's not. I think that's
is it not?
But she wants to change.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's the first time she's saying wicked men. Before it's always like, you are the bad girls. You are the dirty girls.
Huge.
Yeah. And now she's like, you will be, corrupted by wicked men, and I will be here for you to tell me.
Yeah, I will listen.
Oh, that's enormous.
Give me all the intel on those wicked men. Come on, I can
it was a huge shift, because before she's like, shame, like, you're a dirty like whore, basically.
It's
terrible.
the woman's fault. Victim shaming.
Yeah, it's the woman's fault, and now it's wicked men. Yeah,
I think this is why I love this episode. Like, it's one of my favorite episodes of season 4, or maybe also even in general, because there's so much Gilead in it. We barely know anything about the hierarchical structures and what's going on behind the scenes, and we finally got to see who's in charge, who's deciding things.
Right.
Okay, so then we go straight from the Lydia speech and her pairing up the new handmaids to a scene of June walking down the deserted Chicago street alone and looking extra lonely. And she hears something that makes her stop, and she gets scared and hides under a police car until we see 2 boots and jeans walk up, and June's eyes slowly move up her body, and then it's revealed it's Janine. After she said goodbye to her, she changed her mind, and it made me cry. June is also clearly moved, and I love it. How does she have so many different facial expressions that say different things? She's literally 2,000 different, slightly adjusted, oh my God, I'm so moved by seeing Janine right now, or whatever. It's so cool to see her face do that. And June stands up. She crawls out from under the car and asks her, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And Janine says, I feel safer when we're together. Handmaids always walk in twos, remember? And Lizzie's face. Such a beautiful moment. She's so touched. And she just says, yeah, come on. And tilts her head to the left. And I love it so much, especially coming right after the Lydia scene. But then my heart will be broken again in a minute. So
the show gives and it takes away. It's what it does.
Yes. Yeah, it's a roller coaster ride.
Quite literally.
It is.
Really,
you have
really
this small moments of relief or respite and can draw strength and happiness from it, and then second later, boom, something awful happens.
Yeah. So first, though, we get to go to Lawrence and Nick again. So Lawrence is walking into the council meeting, and he looks dressed differently to me. I couldn't quite identify why. Some sort of commander thing, right?
I thought so too, yeah.
And he just looked more important to me. And Nick calls out to him and catches up. He tells him, you're right, I think she's in Chicago. And he tells Lawrence, I'll back you up, whatever you need. So when the meeting starts, Nick immediately speaks up, proactively bringing Lawrence's idea back to the table aggressively, so differently than before now that June's involved.
Mm-hmm.
But he's shocked when he's informed that everyone has reconsidered their position on this matter already, and they're going to do it. And Lawrence leans forward and says, God loves a commander willing to reconsider his position. So he's blackmailed.
Yeah, and he's sitting at the council again
in the
first time
too,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
right.
Close to the middle.
Right. Got pushed right in.
Wow.
But another one too, right? Because as I said, in the beginning was 7, and now they are 9 again. So did they do it to just make the number uneven so it makes it easier to?
So there was a center.
Well,
and also there's a majority on votes.
Yeah,
there will be a tie.
Right.
And there were always 9 before, right?
Yeah, but also it's really important to note that even though Jaylor is back at the council, he's not on the tops Like
no.
we have I think this shot with the chairs from behind was really nice, because like Putnam's chair has this really fancy ornaments and woodwork, and then on his right side it's Kaloon and another commander. They have also like a little more fancier chairs, and then the other commanders all have just pretty normal ones, and Lawrence still has
Office Max chairs.
one of those.
And then the bomb is dropped on Nick. Putnam
Literally.
He will, yes. Putnam tells Nick he will coordinate the bombing. Excuse me, sir? And he's totally baffled. And Lawrence leans forward and explains Nick hasn't been apprised of the new plan. And so Putnam happily spells it out. Commander Blaine, you will coordinate an aerial bombardment on all insurgent fronts just prior to the ceasefire deadline. Give the civilians a little spanking. Right? He's so obnoxious. Nick objects, saying civilians will be at risk, and Lawrence says that's the cost of doing business. Putnam remarks, you can't hunt the roaches when they're in the walls, son. I didn't even write son in my notes, but he did say that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember him saying son.
Yeah.
God damn it. People calling him son must drive him
so patronizing. Like,
I love to patronize him.
And the thing about
they're such
Calhoun
assholes.
and Nick don't seem like they're that far apart in age, so it is really super patronizing, I
Yeah,
think, especially coming from him.
Calhoun's young.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably will look down on him because he got promoted and the others were in it from kind of the beginning, like with founders and really high up, and he just got a promotion. He was just a lowly driver at one point.
He fell into his position.
It's like, however he did it, I mean, we know that it was Fred, but still.
So then Nick switches tactics, since that's not working, to their own people. They won't be able to get their own people out in time. But they're not giving Nick a choice. Putnam says, well, then you should get going. And Nick finally just says by his hand and looks like he's gonna vomit.
And cry and everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I literally thought he would throw up on the table. Right.
Every emotion, and you can see every emotion.
You said that first. That's perfect.
He even
his acting. Yeah, his acting in that
his acting
scene
is
was
incredible.
Phenomenal. I felt so pained for him.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
I was screaming at my TV. I was screaming. I was like, no, don't make him do that. No, please don't.
And he looks like he's almost breaking to a point where he can't hold it in any longer, that he's completely against everything.
Yeah, this scene always reminds me of this Katie Couric interview where she says that Max plays actually two characters in the show, like this commander, like Gilead commander wearing a mask, always have to hide his feelings and everything, and then he plays the Nick we know with June. And I think in this scene, you clearly see the battle between those two characters in his face. And it was amazing.
His mask started to slip.
Yeah.
And I feel like it did. I mean,
mask slips.
Yeah, it did.
Split second.
Totally slipped.
I mean, he looked pained.
Especially when he came up with the second excuse, when he was trying, we don't have time to pull out our own troops.
It was so desperate, and like
even his voice changed.
You could hear the panic in his voice.
But you never seen him like that.
He had like a panic chuckle.
Totally. Yeah, I solved that.
I have a question for you guys about this scene, though. So do you think if Nick initially had sided with Lawrence and given him that mercy vote, do you think he would have found a way to arrange the deal without the bombing?
That Lawrence would try to...
Yeah, because Lawrence obviously was the one behind the scenes making the deal. So I was just wondering if he could have arranged the bombing either without it. I don't think that was possible. I think he had to give something. But do you think there's a way he could have arranged it where Nick wasn't the one that had to do it?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, I wasn't.
He's leading the battle.
Yeah,
he said it.
He's responsible for it.
Because part of me thinks he was trying to teach Nick a little bit of a lesson, kind of like you need to learn to play the game a little bit. But I didn't know if that was a way he would have done it. I was just curious what you guys
I think the teaching was more like the fact that he let him run into the knife. Basically, he didn't warn him beforehand. He just let him go through the emotions right in front of everybody. I think that was the big lesson that he gave him there.
The very big lesson he also gave June, I think, that you cannot decide what you need to do. Sometimes you need to do awful things as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Nick has no choice though but to drop the
bomb.
He
does not have no.
I mean, it's Lawrence who orders the bomb to be dropped. He just has to do it. On Lawrence's hands, actually.
Yeah, by his hand.
By his hand, by Lawrence's hand.
Well, Lawrence looks even a bit like he's sorry that Nick has to do this.
Yeah.
In the end, just
Yes.
after the last sentence that he gives him, before Nick gives in and says, yeah, by his hand.
I think Lawrence is being a bit of a dick here. I don't like Lawrence in this scene.
He's a dick, but this can't help Gilead. I mean, this
what the
bad
fuck?
for Gilead.
It's so much worse.
Is
that
Lawrence
was my next?
like
I was
actually
say.
fucking with Gilead there?
I mean, his original plan was not, was good. It was good for Gilead.
Right.
It would have given them a better image.
But this looks bad. I can't believe they went through
this
with
is
it.
fucking awful.
Terrible.
Can you imagine telling everybody we're gonna cease fire? Oh, just kidding. Mom killed you all. Okay, now you can.
And then do the ceasefire. Nobody's
gonna
think you're generous after that. You bombed us to begin with.
So Lawrence shouldn't be on board.
Well, unless he wanted to hurt Gilead.
I mean, Lawrence knows that, and
right.
I think he also just takes this as an opportunity because he knows that Kalun definitely, I always go back to this, he wants to bomb things. He wants to fight at the fronts with bombs. And now he
doesn't want to fight at the fronts. He just wants
he does. He wants Gilead to,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And like when he comes to this council at the beginning of the episode and proposes the ceasefire because of all the sanctions they have, because they lose power.
Mm-hmm.
And all those smart men in the council don't want to see it. They want to be like their tiny boys, play war, whatever. And he's the only one who actually can think straight and proposes very good things. And he's like, okay, well, if they don't want to listen to me, let's do it their way.
Mm-hmm.
I got my ceasefire. Okay, we need to take that. And as you said, like maybe it's in the end, it's very bad light on Gilead that they bomb the fronts to send him
Lawrence
aid.
is extremely smart and he's very calculating. So if he's mad at Gilead and he's finding ways to kind of chip away at it, it's not going to work with the trade anymore.
No. I think also that Lawrence always just chimed in the discussion, like Putnam, Kalun, and Nick had this back and forth of the dialogue, and then Norman's just from behind his shoulders comes in front. He's like, and this
just keeps leaning in,
like,
and
it's like, oh.
Surprise, I'm here in the council.
And he's literally, because you literally can't see him for like the other parts, and then he leans in and says something like, that's the cost of doing business, or whatever.
I just wanted to like another quick note, because I said that on the first episode of our podcast, I think, because in this scene again, when Max had this amazing scene, it completely reminded me of this Japanese concept which is called honne and tatemae. And like honne is your real face basically, and tatemae is a mask you wear in front of other people in public to hide your true feelings. And he's like the embodiment of this concept in the whole show. And it's so fascinating to me.
I love that. I remember that now.
I remember it.
Yeah, I remember it too.
It'll be the only thing I know when I go to Japan.
When you go to Japan,
nonstop.
When you go to Japan and someone smiles at you, it's not genuine all the time.
Oh, they
just remember that.
Okay, that's a good tip. Thank you. Then June and Janine are discussing, they're walking down the streets together now, yay, and discussing the map and the Nighthawks. I really dig June in the yellow sweatshirt for some reason, but it makes no sense that she's wearing it. But they realize the streets are suspiciously deserted and they start to get worried. And Janine sees a ton of food just sitting there, and that's even less sensical, but Janine takes it as a gift from God, as she's wont to do. And she says, at least someone up there still likes us, but June knows something's not right. And she's looking around suspiciously, and then they hear the planes. And so June yells, run. And they're running down the street as bombs are exploding behind them. And eventually they're catching up and all around them. And then it fades to black. And June comes around, and you see her face first. It's filthy. Her yellow sweatshirt is finally somewhat camouflaged. It's gray now. And, as she's coming to, you can hear her hearing is fucked up. And I like how they do that, like they did in the first episode when she was unconscious. And like, they're very good at expressing that
with the sounds and stuff, right? As if like, I don't know, have you guys ever lost consciousness?
No.
Yes,
because no,
I did several times. And that's exactly how you experience sound when you I mean, at least for me, when you're about to lose like sometimes if I know, okay, like I'm about to lose consciousness, like I lay down
the tunnel.
It's like the tunnel, and all this squeaking noise, these like the noises get really distorted, and I think they did it really well. I really thought it.
Yeah,
like,
it's very, very disorienting.
With the bombing, it has to be even worse, right? I mean, all the loud noises. If you probably, I can only imagine it must be so loud, and your hearing must be completely affected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so it's
and she's concussed.
Even
like she has
worse,
a concussion.
and the concussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she stands up and starts screaming for Janine as "Fix You" by Coldplay plays. And
Oh God!
I feel like the lyrics that are playing then now are relevant.
When you try your best but you don't succeed, and then when you feel so tired but you can sleep, back in reverse. When the tears come streaming down your face, when you lose something you can't replace, would it be worse? And then lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. High up above or down below, when you are too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you will never know just what you're worth. Lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. Tears are streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace, tears streaming down your face. So that's the part.
It's so heartbreaking as she's looking for Janine because
I get goosebumps when you read that.
I know, right?
Only just
how long did it take them? Like, I would love to know the origin of like who thought of that song, and it's so fucking perfect, and it's perfect for the next, for seeing Moira, right? Lights will guide you home, try to fix you. Jesus,
and it's like she loses the one handmaid, but the other comes.
So
she's not walking alone again.
Oh my God. Do other shows like, are they this complexly like fucking amazing?
I never noticed.
No, that's why we love it so.
I know Stranger Things does a lot with music too.
Oh, I love it.
They are intentional with all what they put in, so they're really, I mean, it's basically the shows I'm really drawn into if the details are just
Breaking Bad, I'm sure too.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, the song started and it's like, I was bawling already.
Oh my God,
like,
right?
Oh my God, come on, no.
Is there an episode where you not cry?
I cry every episode.
Yeah, me too.
But maybe they need to consider like it's hard to see the screens through so many tears.
Yeah, that's one of
that.
True.
Yeah.
I have one last note or question. And because Tina asked if Nick could have avoided the bombing, and we kind of came to agreement that he couldn't. So, but I was wondering if he could have maybe done something else, like not use all the resources, like just send in, I don't know, 5 planes instead of 10 or something.
Maybe he did. I guess maybe. I don't know.
I think he gets specifics and just has to give out the order, but I don't know. I don't know how that works. That's the problem.
If he needs to coordinate the bombing, that means he has to say about what goes where, right?
I mean, they say on all fronts, so he has to put at least 1 or 2 on every part.
Yeah, but he could also, I mean, like saying, okay, but we cannot use all our resources on this impromptu bombing, so I will just be a little sparse now. I mean, obviously it was a bombing, but it's like an aerial strike, but it's, I mean, maybe it's also just a scene that we don't see that many bombs erupting, but I had like, okay, as we've seen this like 5 jets incoming and this once, and then it's kind of over, I think. Like there are not other bombs going.
Yeah, it is where
she
comes to, unless she's been unconscious a while.
Well, I always thought that them abandoning their posts and leaving everything behind was like a signal to people. Like, why are they leaving?
Yeah.
Like, I think something's coming.
And Janine didn't even get it. I was so mad.
They shouldn't leave all this stuff. This is valuable stuff. This is their food. And like, so it tipped them off.
Yeah.
June was like, wait, something's not right. Something's going to happen. So hopefully maybe other people got that. And they're like,
there were no other people on the streets.
I think something's coming. Yeah. We got to get to bomb shelters or get off the street.
Yeah. He could have instructed like, leave all your supplies, like you said, as a signal to people to find shelter. It's possible.
That's odd that they would leave what they did.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our spoiler-free analysis of this episode. If you are a longtime fan, hang out for a few seconds and we will discuss the episode in the context of the show to date, which is through season 4. So who's got deep dive notes?
Immediately at the start, Tainted Love is playing, and I found it really, because it's such an awkward sex scene between Steven and Janine. And at first I thought about that it was like about that Gilead tainted the way they are loving people and stuff like that. And then you have June come back to Luke, and you literally see that how tainted their love is because of everything that happened because of Gilead. So it's really fitting, and especially since she thought of Luke and her in the scene before as well.
Right.
Ooh, with the tainted love, could that have been, was that their first time having sex, Luke and June? Was that like,
yes.
So it was tainted because it was an affair, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So Tina has another one, right?
Mine was just about the cloaks, the trading of the cloaks, and the ear tag is what it was going to talk about, was how before we've seen her so eager to kind of give up her handmaid identity. But now, she was almost kind of hesitant to give up the cloak. Earlier, in season 2, she was like ripping that thing out of her ear. But then, come to, and like I said, I didn't notice it was obviously still in her ear, but then, in 409, it's clearly, there's a shot of it very clearly in her ear. She's not as eager to like let Gilead go anymore. When she gets to Canada, she's there for several months, weeks, however long it is, and she still hasn't been able to, really release Gilead and let it go.
She even wears the red.
And she wears the red.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, in this episode, she's asking for guns, and she's very clearly wanting revenge on Gilead. And it's all going to lead to 410, where, she doesn't want to, like Janine, just have the life where she raises a kid. Janine, I think, even says we can be moms together. Well, that's not what she wants. She's asking for guns. She wants revenge.
Yeah.
She realizes that in the group, with Moira. Why can't we be as angry as we feel, or as furious as we feel, whatever the word is? I can't remember exactly. And it's all leading to her getting to take her revenge out on Fred in the most amazing way at the end of the season. So all the breadcrumbs were there, and especially in this episode, it was really noticeable.
Yeah, I love that. And she definitely accepts more that her handmaid life is part of her journey and part of her by season 4. Like, that's why she looked at the cloak like that, and she accepts it, and she's okay with it,
Right.
Quickly, a note on when I talked about the Dante reference and the spoiler-free analysis, and the analogy with like Dante's journey through hell, purgatory, and paradise. That it translates very well to June's journey of, Gilead is her hell. Then she was floating in purgatory during the Chicago time, I guess, and maybe also the time when she was on the run, I think. And I guess the paradise could be that she gets out to Canada, but it's also kind of a tainted paradise for her, I guess. So we'll see what the real paradise will be. Maybe the beach.
The beach.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, then when we saw this puzzle, like this assumption of marrying puzzle. Also, I thought I didn't say it in the spoiler free, but did you all think that Aunt Lydia's room was kind of ridiculously small and sparse?
Well,
I didn't notice it.
They are women of God. They are like nuns. They don't need anything.
There's like a bed, a desk, a closet, and that's all kind of. It looked like I don't know, like even a prison cell or like a dorm room.
Well, I really thought back to like where the nuns live. Convent, right? No, in Austria there are a few where you can like rent a room and sleep in. Yeah, and the rooms are like that, like really nothing really in there, just one closet and the bed, and it's all really simple. And then you have one bedside table, and that's it. And I mean, they are kind of like a bit of like evil nuns because they are always trying to get their girls in shape and reciting from the Bible and things like that. And it fits kind of the bill, right? I think they don't need anything else.
Do we think that's her room normally, or just?
I think so, because she gets dressed in there.
Yeah, I think it's in the Red Center, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I also like that in this scene we have this like Assumption of Mary painting kind of, and later in the season in episode 9 we get this symbolic Last Supper with the aunts. And I was actually looking up if Aunt Ruth is the one who sits on Judas's place, but it's not her.
No.
So do you know who it is? Is it just someone we don't know?
No, it's just
yeah.
And I was wondering if this bombing was the main reason for Nick to, well, look as worn out as he did when we see him again in episode 9.
Yeah, I do.
Right.
And Max has said he's like tried to look
like run down.
Yes.
The bombing and the war, and who knows what he needs to do in between this as well.
I mean, yeah, he was in war. Yet, not talking about real life, I saw pictures recently from people that a pre-war picture and after-war picture, and they were gone like a few months, and they came back and looked like they aged 20 years.
Yeah.
And
another quick note in this episode, I did pay attention again, and he did not wear a ring by this episode. So
really?
His marriage happened sometime after.
Yeah, sure. Yes. I think Nick just came back from the war in episode 1. So, and from episode 1 to episode 3, there is not much time in between, and they are on a hunt, basically. So he hasn't got the time to marry in between, right? And get settled into a new household and everything. So that's probably why he hasn't been married off then. And afterwards, they thought it was time now. He was back.
When do you think he got married? What episode?
I think after Chicago was filmed.
4, 6, like that.
I don't know if I could pin it in a particular episode.
Yeah. No, not really, but I think
after June made it to Canada, sometime at that point.
Yeah,
that's what I think it was.
Around this. But I also think that maybe the bombing also drove him to like do all the research on Hannah more, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could see that. So in case he ever had to do any sort of other horrible attack thing, he could know where she was and maybe
like as a form of
her or something.
As a form of apology, I think too, because
that.
Oh,
well, I mean, because he said like when she, I mean, of course, he knows her well, and when he says, okay, as soon as I knew that you made it to Canada, I started to put things together, because he knew she wouldn't give up looking for Hannah.
I started to look for her, yeah.
But also that he obviously his guilt is piling up, and this one is the baddest thing he needed to do until now, at least as we know of, and this really needs to weigh a lot on his conscience.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
but
his whole life weighs on his conscience. Everything that he has to do is just horrible for him. I feel terrible for him.
Yeah. But I think that he did this because he now had the opportunity to do it. Because before he wasn't a commander, and then when he got to be a commander, he was immediately sent away, or really soon, and probably was in training before, so he didn't really get to have connections to get to Hannah or anything. Basically, when all that Chicago stuff and so on, when he came back and finally had a bit more leverage on people and knew some people, that he started to try to get to Hannah. He would have looked for Hannah in any way as soon as he got the opportunity, because he tried already in season 2 and he couldn't really get intel because he was too low to get anything. And now he has all the possibilities, or more, not all. He was still trying since that season, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he always said, we'll find a way, remember, to get info or to get her to her. He's always probably in the back of his head thinking, how am I going to find a way to connect her with her daughter? I'm also assuming he's climbing the ranks of Mayday, or, and
let's hope.
And people are giving him, like, now he has friendlies. He seems to have more intel that's working for him behind the scenes. So I think he's moving up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, when Nick got basically his own kid out, that he saw for the first time that it could work to get somebody out. I mean, it wasn't just him, it was mainly the mothers, but it worked. And one of the kids of June is out. And then June got all of the other kids out, so many. And then June got out. So he basically got reminded every time again and again, probably about this pressing matter of Hannah. Maybe he can get to Hannah, maybe. I mean, he probably even knew that Hannah was moved because June tried to get her. 100% never left his mind, because it's always like a faucet that's leaking the whole time. Hannah, because he knows just the one thing that June needs to be really happy.
Right. That to make her complete. Well, not fully complete. She'd probably want him as well, but
exactly.
And all the friends.
Yeah.
So, and my other notes are kind of all on Lydia, because as I said in the spoiler free already, that this episode is really important for her development, I think, because she starts to form new
alliances.
Alliances with Lawrence, we see.
It just dawned on me, another reason she might have gone to Lawrence over Calhoun is because she and Lawrence at this point are both kind of outcasts from their circles.
That's true, right?
You know, he's outcast, he's not at the table, she's not at the table either. So she probably knows they can, work together to come to their common goal of she wants to be reinstated.
Reestablishing power.
Yeah, exactly.
They also are both made responsible for what happened. Like Lawrence because June was his handmaid, and Lydia because she's responsible for the handmaids.
Right. Oh, that was another thing in the scene. She said part of like the deal of, trading information was that when they get June back, she would get to be in charge of her. And Lawrence is like, yeah, I got no problem with that.
What do you think about that she was doing that to protect her? Like bring her to me before you like put her on the wall? Or do you think she was seriously gonna?
Well, in episode 1, she said that she wants her to be dead, basically. And in episode 3, she seems really not happy about the fact that they torture her. She wants her to give it up. She wants her to be a good girl so she can basically take her home and she can pop out new babies and everything. Even though she's still mad at her and she got hurt because of June, she's struggling with the fact that they torture her. So then now after that, she should be raging now because June basically betrayed her again and ran away, and she had to face the consequences again.
It's so funny.
And now she wants her in her care again.
I think she doesn't want to give up on trying to turn her around. She wants her to be meek. She wants her to be the perfect handmaid. She will just try to do what she's always been doing, I think.
I know, but June is so far gone now.
Maybe she has other things up her sleeve. I mean, if she has intel on people, she has intel on Nick and on Nicole and on everybody she loves. So there are ways for Lydia, even like different ways we haven't seen for her to make June obedient.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I think
that would be
and that's I think like because her face, like Lydia's face is really, it's like she's plotting. She knows exactly what she's going to do with June if she gets her hand.
Yeah, June's kind of like the ultimate challenge for her.
Yeah
she is.
She's like in episode 3, like when June begs her to kill her, she's like, oh, I finally broke her, poor girl. No, don't worry, you're just going to the breeding colony. And then in the end she's back to being the rebel again. And I think like Lydia must have been so furious at that because she thought, finally I broke her, and then she's back at it like within a second, within just a kiss of Nick, and everything's good again, and bam.
I don't think she wants her dead because even in the end of 4-3, she's screaming at the guard for shooting at them. Like, no, don't shoot them. Like, so she's not that pissed. I mean, she is pissed, but she still doesn't want them to be killed.
I think she's like, if I can break June, I can break every other handmaid.
Like a project.
Right. Yeah. Like, she's a challenge for her. Yeah. As I said, I thought like her speech was really fascinating to me, that she kind of changed or tries to change how she's with the girls. And I think we kind of start to see it later in the episodes when she's, tries to do different approaches when Esther is not eating and getting Janine involved.
Yeah.
Right.
That she's the one who connects with Esther, and that she's not like kind of pushing the food down her throat like the other aunts are proposing, that she tries to actually make it work through different means. And so I really think she tries to change at least the ways they treat the handmaids.
Yeah, well, I noticed that in the scene with Aunt Ruth, it's kind of ticks her off that much that I thought maybe that's one of the triggers that gets her to try to change the system a bit. Not just the way she treats the handmaids, but maybe how the handmaids were treated as well later on. But we don't get to see that yet, maybe. But the way she talked with Lawrence just gave me the impression that she really wants to change the system. Maybe not burn Gilead down, but she wants to make a difference.
Yeah. She's had enough, I think,
of the vile man.
Yeah.
I mean, she
definitely turned her tune.
She has all those like the intel on all of those men. I mean, we have Putnam who had this affair with Janine. We like she's doing the prosecutions. She knows what those people did, even though sometimes it's just made up excuses. But
I want to know what Calhoun has.
I do too. I wonder
what he's up to.
And he doesn't seem like to be the type who helps people, you know, like underground, like smugglers or whatever. I don't know. I hope we get to know
all the skeletons in their closet.
There's so much that still can be told.
Okay. And my last note is on Janine, poor Janine, who gets recaptured and becomes a handmaid yet again.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. It's so like, please just let her live in peace for once.
You know, she told Lydia she'd rather die. So
I was wondering too, like, is it even worse that she survived this bombing?
Well, she said she would have rather died than be a handmaid again.
I don't think so. I think I hope. I mean, it looks like that Lydia is teaming her a bit up with Esther, so that could be a good thing. Could be really wrong, but I hope it's a good thing that she's not alone anymore, not the one handmaid that's walking alone all the time. And she can guide Esther probably a bit better than June to tone down her anger. But maybe if they combine their forces, they will come up with something good, but not something that's just bombing the shit out of something, like going all batshit crazy. Because that would happen if you leave it to Esther probably at that moment.
She just wants revenge. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a wrap on our analysis of season 4, episode 5. Come back on Monday for our analysis of season 4, episode 6. Come find us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all the things. Thanks for listening.
Bye.